We're going to call to order regular meeting of the city, workshop for the City Commission, Tuesday, April 26th. Please silence your cell phones. City Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Mayor Owen.
Here.
Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Commissioner Clody.
Present.
Commissioner Sacks.
Here.
And Vice Mayor McGurk is running late. Thank you.
In that case, we don't need, when someone's late, but then they show up, like at the last workshop, like they get counted present, right?
Correct. I'll remark the time.
Okay, all right. Any members of the public wish to comment? Seeing none. Chief, you got, did you do a fake step forward? Is that? All right.
Just adjusting.
Okay, so I think turn it over to Natalia.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. It's been a while I spoke in front of you, so it seems like so another year passed. So, and here we are for presentation of department budget review of administration. So that consists of City Commission, City Manager, City Clerk, Attorney, Finance, HR, and Business Economic Development. So basically all people present here, except for CRA. Now, CRA will be presented by Chris Edwards, who is Director of Business and Economic Development, will be in May, along with IT, and that will be our last budget meeting for this year, pre-budget. So the goals is to implement City Commission strategic vision. We also first source of information for public, internal and external. We manage public affairs with financial, legal, HR provide support in recruitment, selection, training, and employee relations. So basically, we're kind of people who sit behind the scenes and do all support to our police, fire, property maintenance, and all other departments. So City Commission, that would be you. We have 5 elected positions, and current budget is $331,000. So 90% of that is actually personnel services. About 295, it's what we currently have. And your estimated operating cost for next year is $39,000. So that includes your conference, area dinners, promotional expenses, and services like that. So each of you this year get $2,000 for promotional expenses and additional $2,000 for your city address, Mayor.
Okay.
So you can spend however you want, but we will be watching.
Go ahead.
So is that in the 2022 budget also?
Yes, it is, and it's underspent yet.
And
So
it's going also into 2023?
exactly. So every year you get it. So I looked today, so we spent about only $1,400 out of 10,000.
Okay.
So you're aware you still have some money to spend this year.
So I know roughly what I make, and I think a ballpark, remember what these gentlemen make. And when I tally all that up, I get a number that's, let's call it somewhere between 85 to 90 something thousand total in salaries.
So the way it's calculated, state of Florida provide us what they estimate for elected officials. So we follow Volusia County formula. Last year it was $95,000. Quarter of that, you, Mayor, it's yours compensation. And 75% of yours, each city commissioner gets.
Yeah,
That's what we follow.
I get that. I'm just saying that's only the wages part of that's only, let's just call it 100,000 among friends.
Right.
There's another 231,000. If I take out the operating cost, I'm at 200,000-ish.
Health insurance is very expensive. We pay $120,000 for city commission to Blue Cross Blue Shield.
So 5 people's health is $120,000. And I know that includes families in some cases, although I'm not even sure everyone is on the health plan. Like, are you on our health plan? Oh, you did get on, okay. And sorry, I don't mean to put anyone on the spot. I just was trying to. So 120,000 is that. So that would leave another like 80-ish thousand, because I've already compensated for the operating. So what would the other like 80,000 be? Any idea?
And that's,
Pensions,
well, I have to.
Pensions?
your
Okay.
pension, your,
Yeah, it's your pension, it's,
Withholding, social s-
you know, taxes, all of that
Okay.
includes, of course.
It still, I mean, it still seems high, because salary's only 95,000, so benefits usually aren't 100% of salary. But
I can give you detail, I have it
Yeah.
with me after.
every time I see that number, it just doesn't just settle real well with me, if I'm totally honest. Like, it just feels like that's it's not the end of the world, but it's a pretty big number. That's a lot of money for health insurance for 5 folks. I don't think any of us are in it for the money. I mean, I don't want to go broke doing it, but, so, I don't know, just,
And it's one of our probably most expensive plans, so.
which I think I brought up last time. Like, I think we probably should just go to, we have whatever plans we have, and I'm happy to sign up on the plan that the employees are on.
Yeah, and we will be discussing that later on, once we don't have anything from our insurance plan yet. At this point of time, we're looking of no more than 5% increase, but we never know.
Yeah, okay.
So we're still in the process of building personnel budget, as you know. So once we get there, we'll have a better idea.
Okay.
So city manager budget currently
I have
it's
a question.
No, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. So the $2,000 a year that's allocated to whatever we want, that's been there all these years?
I believe yes. I
Okay.
went as far as 3 years.
Oh, okay. I was totally unaware of it, and I have no desire to spend it, but just caught me by surprise.
I'll take it.
Really don't
I'm going to
advertise.
send you an official Colodi newsletter daily.
Go ahead.
Natalia, these monies you mentioned can be spent in many or almost any way that we wish. Can the monies be combined if we wish?
Sure, of course. But we're usually trying to stick to organizations, like nonprofit, definitely not private.
Is there a list at all of a definition of what you can give the monies to? I mean, it
I
seems
haven't-
carte blanche, but
Yeah, I haven't seen it, to be honest, but I know my previous position in Daytona Beach, it was very strict restriction for each commissioner. So each would have a budget, and they would choose during the year how they decide to spend the money. So restrictions was it was nonprofit, it definitely for let's say Boys and Girls Club and on. So churches, some events during the city, in the city. So private was definitely not on the list, and we monitor that, and we also it had to be approved by others, in a way. It was part of actually agenda item.
Okay.
So it was very known to public what commissioners spending that money on.
I just thought of it. I wonder, you hear about it in the news, that money was taken from a committee or a fund and given to a charity, and it wasn't really your money. So I wonder, is it acceptable for commissioners to use taxpayer funds, which essentially they are, to benefit an effort that you would like to, like a boys club or something like that? That's acceptable?
I would say it is. We can take a look at that.
I mean, we have $35,000 grant program right now that goes to various organizations for homeless. So, I mean, it's, and I've had the same question, and I think this commission has, we've probably scaled that back a little bit. not ended it completely, but, certainly we've had a lot of organizations that have come up and we maybe let them use the Brandon facility, but we're not writing them checks, but things like the Marine Discovery Center, we've supported them, I think with unanimous vote or, basically on occasion. So, I mean, it's an interesting debate, should we, as custodians of the tax dollar, should we be, should the taxpayer not just give to the Marine Discovery Center themselves directly? And again, I think this commission's taken a fairly conservative stance on that. As far as that money and my, I don't plan on using it for anything like that, or if I did, it would be in conjunction with you all. Like to me, that's a good thing. Maybe remind us when we have those organizations come before us and they're looking for something, remind us that's kind of a source of funding. But to me, it should be used for things like when we host a town hall or State of the City or something like that. Like, that's kind of my, my vision for it. So.
Right. If it benefits for the goods of citizens, that's probably main criteria we're looking at. So
Yeah.
Definitely. And probably we also should look at, so all organizations, we don't want give same organization several donations.
Yeah.
It has to be sort of spread.
And my guess is it hasn't even been used all historically. I mean, you said we're only at 1,400 this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think we're really tapping this. So.
Does it get in the way if we ask to use it for capital projects, very small capital projects?
We prefer not.
All right.
Thanks.
But
Moving
again,
on.
you're the commission, you can make a decision.
We should.
So city manager budget, $908,000 for fiscal '22, and currently we have 7 positions. So those positions, of course, city manager, assistant city manager, the admin, and now we have a front desk, as you know, capital project manager. Then we have public information officer, capital project coordinator, and grant writer, which is both part-time positions. Currently, they're not filled. So we're looking for a half position of the video production technician. Right now, we have that position, which is part-time. We all know Phil, who present here for public meetings. We would like to bring him to full-time and split that position between city manager and city clerk. So that's kind of, we're looking into this at this point of time. So for city manager department, that position will be very helpful for advertising, different videos. I know we in process increasing our presence on media. It's always needed. Seems like it's a demand. So city manager asking for that half position to be added for fiscal '23. And we have a person who, we already have it. Now, another one is replacement of a drone and accessories, and that's what we're looking additional thing for operating budget. So it's about 2,500. That's what I was told. Any questions for that?
Who is the half video production technician now?
Right now we have media specialist. His
That's
name
Phil.
Phil. He's probably here.
This Phil,
Okay.
yeah. Not-
We see him every meeting, so he's a part-time currently.
He's only part-time?
Yep.
Yeah,
It's,
You probably did not know that.
just like your
the city clerk requested that we will have him as a full-time, so she's paying for half and we're paying for half.
Not the mistake, Phil is our audiovisual tech.
Yeah, the Phil that's here, not PI,
Not
not
Vesky.
public information, yeah, not Vesky, yes.
Let's get Phil out.
Phil Nunez, I think is his last name.
So city manager. So that's next is
But wait,
Go ahead.
what's the difference from last year to or from this current year to what's proposed? Total cost.
I cannot answer that because we do not have personnel expenses yet. And personnel cost, our biggest cost for admin services, so I cannot. As far as operating, probably around the same. But you see, the total would be personnel.
Okay.
It
but
depends which,
we do have salary guidelines for who we might hire, correct?
you mean for this position?
So you're adding half a position.
You know what, this one I haven't, it was added literally today to the presentation. I added it. I'm not sure we have even estimate for that position yet.
Okay. I'll just need more on that. at some point.
It really came out during our budget meetings with departments
Okay.
this very week. So we. City clerk. Budget for 22 is $442,000. City clerk has 3 positions currently, and for personnel, there is a request to reclassify the city clerk from one job class 302 to 304. And again, as you see, same field, so that his other half in city clerk department. Also, city clerk asking for increase in education and training, in membership, dues and seminars.
What is the 302 to 304? What's the significance of that? What does that change? Do you mind just coming up so we can capture? So Phil can capture?
So in the, wait, let me grab one. In our current structure right now, a 302 starts at 68,966, and a 304 starts at 77,49. If you'll recall from some of our discussions that we've had, I'm looking at some changes with that. So the 304 will actually start at 95,831 if we adopt the new pay plan structure that I'm looking at.
Okay. So the clerk, separate conversation of what the clerk's salary should be, but this change, even a job class change, the clerk is on a contract, right? So
Correct.
that wouldn't, even if we changed it to 304 or 312 or whatever we changed it to, that wouldn't necessarily automatically drive that because it'd have to be a contractual change. Is that?
It wouldn't have to. We would look at that,
Yeah.
and that's how we came up with that 304, was by looking at the local market, and it would be in line with what we're looking at, but it would be through a contract, through a change that you all made a decision on,
Gotcha.
the final.
Okay. Okay.
So more questions for city clerk department?
No.
I'm going to come back to some of these, but let's get through it all first.
Okay. So city attorney, probably easiest one this year. Budget current $445,000, 3 position, and so basically request to increase education and training, which is, we see it across all admin departments because it's really important for us. We have people with licensing, we need to stay on top of so many things, constant change in regulations, new standards, new laws, you name it. So for us, it's really becoming higher and higher budget lately for each department in admin. Finance.
Do you have a rough idea what those costs would be?
I looked at the legal, right? Not by much, maybe $1,000 you ask extra, I want to say. I know you have 10,000 in education materials.
Yeah, I feel
and
like
seminars.
it was like 5 for that and 5 for surveys,
Right.
so around 10,000.
yeah.
But I would need to see the paper to have the exact number.
Yeah, I
It
just,
was very slight increase.
yeah, whether it's 10 or as long as it's not 50 or 75. Or,
No,
No.
The total budget, not that.
yeah.
Commissioner Clody?
One thing I would like to see for all of these positions, and it doesn't have to be today, is what we have budgeted this year and what the overall changes. It's nice to see the reasoning behind it and what you're looking for, but I'm very cheap. I don't like spending the money, and I just need justification. If I see a 2% change, I'm not going to look at it. If I see a 20% change, then I'm going to look at it, and I would need that information.
Definitely, but it would not be that much, because we're very
Who knew?
we're very cheap too.
Maybe a high percentage in a particular category, but I think you also have to look at that on the broader scale as well. I mean, if we go from, we have 0 training budget to 10,000, it's a massive, I mean, it's infinite percent increase. But in the
Correct.
grand scheme of the city budget, or even the city attorney's budget, that's a minuscule increase.
It's not meant to be a negative perception on your part. It's more, I just like to look at the details, that's all.
Yeah.
Well, definitely, yeah. We will provide information. Finance. So 9.5 position currently. So basically, the only change we have for professional services, so for American Rescue Plan, we signed with James Moore, our current auditor, basically for the whole lifetime of that grant, which is until 2024, basically helping us with reporting, compliance, what the best way to deal with that. So we sign additional services with them. So we're looking for that. And also next year we have very important new pronouncement from our professional organization. So at this point, we will be looking at show all the leases that we lease and where we act as lessee and lessor. That's very important, very complicated, GASB. We also will be working with our auditor on that. And for that, they will be charging a little bit extra. I don't know how much yet. But all governmental entities now, it's probably one of the most difficult since last, I would say, 10 years. It's a very complicated standard.
I saw that James Moore, I don't know they were doing ours, but I saw that they were offering that consulting services on ARPA. I figured there would be a cottage industry crop up around that. They're comfortable and you're comfortable. There's no conflict of interest, is kind of too strong of a word, but they're providing us advice and help with the reporting and then also auditing that, or do we then have to get kind of a separate auditor involved because they are in some ways manufacturing the documents and you can't audit what you also produced? Like, how is that going to work?
It will be, we in compliance here, they cannot make decision operational. They cannot make operational or management decisions. That will preclude them from auditing us. And auditing standard itself, when they sign contracts, they're very strict.
Okay.
They themselves will not put themselves in that position.
Yeah, I mean, I had enough confidence in you and them. I just wanted to make sure I had said that out loud so that even the public understood that we're all approaching it very carefully.
No, it's a very good question. No, that's allowable. And
Okay.
I know from other cities who James Moore audits, they as well sign in this type of agreements with them.
Okay.
For American Rescue Plan. So it's really good to have it because we just want to be on time,
Yeah.
fully compliant, a lot of questions, very new grant. Even portal itself a little bit, creates issues.
Yeah. Okay. Vice Mayor, we've only approved $12 million new dollars so far, so you're just in time.
How much more do we have to approve?
You got another $20 million to go.
You guys are doing just great.
We'll run it again. So
Yes, Commissioner Clute.
Can the funding for that come out of the ARPA grant?
Yeah.
For that position,
I think that is allowed.
as opposed to our general budget?
yes, we could, I guess.
I think that is allowable.
Yeah.
If I remember from the first time
Yeah.
the county talked about it, I think it is.
Yeah, I remember when it first came out, and we were getting tons of calls, emails, and some consultants were asking as far as like $100,000, and some cities did pay.
Well, it's a very good program. It's just like with the hurricanes.
Yep.
When there's federal monies, we got somebody else that's keeping track of where it's going, and we got our money first.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
we should definitely go in that direction.
Yeah.
And in reality, cities probably should have waited until final rule, because when they relax the rules, it's really,
A lot easier.
but a lot of consultants already got their pay.
Yeah. Okay.
Human resources, so current budget, almost $300,000. Currently 3 positions, so director of human resources asking for additional HR generalist for be dedicated strictly to recruiting and retention of personnel, because their volume of work definitely increased. We can see it, so there's definitely need for additional position. And that would be full cost somewhere around $50,000 for that position.
Full cost including benefits?
It's with benefits. Right, Heather?
Fif-
It is with benefits.
50K plus benefits.
58, actually, I'm looking at my notes now, 58. But it's all benefits, which is includes everything.
Okay, that's low. But okay.
Business and economic development. So current budget, $1,018,000. Staff in 2 positions. So the director of department requesting admin specialist 2 to provide support to the director and he's another staff member. We, at this point of time, did not make any decisions who is being added. At this point of time, we're just gathering information. Personnel, all decisions will be done after union negotiations done and so on, and see where we're at. It's just, I'm bringing
What else
to
is
your...
in- Either this is a typo or there's something else in this number, like CRA budget or something. Or I'm going to work for the business and economic development.
Those positions are funded by general fund.
No, I know, but I'm saying $1 million, 2 staffing, so that means there's got to be like 700, 800,000 of operational budget in there. So is that CRA budget that lives in there, or?
No, it's
That's what I was thinking. It's got to be something else like that lumped in.
there is a
Yeah. Okay.
and again, business economic development and CRA budget in detail will be presented to you in May,
Okay.
along with IT department. So that would be all. So any questions?
All right. Questions, comments on administrative budgets? I have.
Just,
Go ahead.
just a quick one. James Moore's contract will be through 2024, which is when ARPA ends.
So we're up for renewal now. We have 3 years and 2 one-year renewals. For next year, for fiscal 22 audit, it will be our first renewal. Then we have second, and then we have to go out. So if you decide to renew with them.
And we can't renew with them again after that. After the 2 one-year extensions, we have to go to the market and pick a new
We
one.
have to, yes, we have to go for, in the auditing standard now, there was a change, I want to say 3-4 years ago. They made it much more stricter.
Yeah,
So we have to really follow that.
change that, yeah. Commissioner Clody?
Well, the ARPA position, if you want to call it that, obviously will extend past their contracts with us and where they can be extended. Can it be done as a separate contract so they could continue through the whole ARPA program, independent?
It is through the whole ARPA program. It's through the whole timeline of the grant.
And when is their contract up? Will their contract be up?
Contract will be up in 2024.
And ARPA
So-
has, ARPA's
and
got to
ARPA will be around the same time, but they're independent of each other.
Yeah, it's an independent.
be, so
It's
it can be,
different.
well, that's what I'm saying. It
Right.
could be an independent contract because
Exactly.
ARPA, you get to expend it for another 2 years
Yeah.
after that, and that's when their
Right.
finalization has to come in. So
Right.
we just got to keep it separate.
Yes.
And it is, so.
Yeah, so they can stick with us through ARPA,
Yes.
whether or not they continue to be auditing.
As if we hired somebody else, totally different consulting firm.
Right.
It just happened to be our external auditor.
Okay.
Other comments? Khaled, question for you. Do you feel, I notice in yours that you're adding a, can you go back to city manager position? Or I can find it, hang on.
No.
So you were adding just the kind of half of that position. We've gotten, we're approaching full staffing. We've got assistant city manager. We've got planning or development services director now. As you look around, do you feel confident that, are we staffed? Do we have the staffing levels that we need for the times that we are in, for everything that we're trying to do, the various priorities of the people and this commission? Is there enough capacity on the staff, or are we still kind of, feeling like we're keeping our head above water?
Well, Mayor, if we are going at the status quo, I think we have enough staff level. I think we always talk about taking the city of New Smyrna Beach to a level higher. And if that's the case, and if that's what the commission direction is, then I need to have additional staff. I think having an additional staff, I think that gives us the opportunity to be innovative, creative, and take the city to a different level in terms of the level of service that we provide, and also with the activities that we have, and then also look for the future down the road, 10, 15, 20 years down the road in terms of the city's future. But as far as status quo, I think at this point, I think we have enough staff level.
Okay, so thank you. So I've said for a while, basically what Colin just said, is that I feel like first of all, we've been running not even with, baseline staff for quite some time, but we're now to full staffing. That's the outcome too. We're now at what we call full staffing, and in a status quo environment, I think you're right. I think we could probably kind of maintain where we're at. My concern is we come out of every meeting, it feels like adding stuff, or at least trying to add stuff to a to-do list, and trying to balance multiple priorities, and having, if we pull up the tool that Michelle has right now, you can scroll for hours, and look at things that we want to get done. And by the way, there's a ton of stuff I haven't even put on the list yet, because I feel guilty bringing it up at this point, because we can't even clear the list and the backlog that we already have. So I've contended for a while we're not in status quo. We're trying to progress and level up once we do that. Oh, and by the way, we're also in, Colin and I had the chance to go around today to all the different departments and give out years of service awards. I handed out some 25s and 30s. We're about to go through some transitory periods, including our city manager and other departments. We're going to have some transitions of some key leaders. So, I personally would like to see us investing in our staff. And by that, I mean not only the ones we have with the training budgets and things like that, but also in adding some positions. And I don't necessarily mean even, an administrative level position here or there, like the one position we talked about with the AV specialist. That's great, we need that. But I think there's a management layer that can take and run with some of these projects, because there's a different caliber of employee that can take some of these things that we talk about up here and say, Khaled, go solve this problem. He can't run with every single one of those and respond to all the emails and everything else that we do. So, and I know he's got Ron now, but I think there's a layer that is missing of leadership that he needs and that we need as a city if we're really going to push some of these things forward. Or much like we had in the debate the other day with ARPA funding, if we're not willing to do that, then we need to cut bait. We need to quit talking about all these changes that we want to see made, and we need to say we're content with status quo. If we're not going to invest in it, then we need to admit to ourselves we're just in maintenance mode and we're going to be content with status quo. Or there's some other changes got to be made, because that's kind of the friction that we're at. So I'd love to see us have a little bit of debate and see where the rest of the commission is on, I would like to see us earmarking a little bit of money for some new positions to assist us in really clearing some backlog of these items, building up a solid bench to see us through some transition periods over the next few years. We may not need to maintain that level of staffing, and there's always turnover. So we can always, when you have turnover, you can slide something around to leave a position vacant. I'm not saying it stays that way forever, but for us to level up, I think we need more staffing. The other thing, I'll just kind of slide out on the table, in addition to what Commissioner Hartman talked about with the contract changes that he wanted to see for the city clerk and attorney and manager, which I agree with. I think we probably need to have our HR representative provide to us, and these three folks all report to us, with data, and we need to do a sanity check on where we're at and what the competitive market is right now that we're in when it comes to those three employees. I don't know if you all saw the headline. We have the DeBerry city manager is now making 186 or something thousand, make $30,000 more than our city manager. You can find, I just want to make sure where we're at, just like we look at the millage and how we stack up. I think we have to look at our staffing in these positions and figure out where we staff up. I mean, frankly, being candid, I don't think Khaled's going to leave tomorrow. I don't think anybody's going to leave tomorrow. I hope not. But I don't want to give them reason to. And I don't want them to see headlines like that and go, geez, well, why am I in New Smyrna if I can make 40, 50, 60 grand a year? And it's one thing if it's, 5 or 10 grand. Hey, that's a passion and love for the city. But at some point, I'm not going to sit around here when I can make 50 or 60 grand more somewhere else. And most people won't. So I just think it's incumbent on us, and it's difficult because this is a tough conversation. I mean, these are normally closed-door conversations, so that makes it really, really tough. I'll be totally honest. But this is about as closed doors as we get in our life, and there's cameras running. So we are where we are. But I think that's a next step, is to have at a minimum, Heather, come back to us and say, here's how we stack up. It's hard to get apples to apples because you got all kind of different compensation and retirement and everything else. So you start with salary and then you kind of add on some stuff. But they've gotten pretty good at it. Her and I have had this conversation a few different times. I think if they bring it back to us and let us sanity check and make sure that I don't want my city clerk, my city attorney, or my city manager to be the lowest paid in Volusia County. I don't think that's where we need to land. Even though we have the lowest millage, I can't have all the lowest paid employees, or else we will lose good employees. And think of, going back to status quo versus progress, is really hard to make progress when a city clerk walks out the door. We got great backup staff in some of these departments, but it absolutely would be a challenge to overcome if we lost someone. Last thing I'll say, and I'm going to shut up, none of them have come to me with this. This is all just me talking for them, whether they like it or not, but they haven't come to me and said, hey, I'm leaving if you don't. Like this isn't, that's not the environment we're in. I'm just trying to stay ahead of this. I think it's our job as leaders to stay ahead of this, or at least stay on top of it with as much as possible. So, gentlemen, I've kind of slid two things down on the table. One is, I contend we probably should be investing in some additional staffing. And number two is, for the staffing you have, we probably need to do a sanity check. So I'll pause there, open it up for any other comments, observations, questions. I saw your hand a long time ago, so we'll start out with Commissioner Colletti.
I think we're doing a very good job with the staffing level we have now. Over the last couple of years, we've been short vacant positions. They're now filled. We really don't have the experience to see how they're going to work out. I've always felt that with our capital projects program, we are understaffed to monitor, design, and put them forth. I'm willing to continue as we are, but I do want to point out that we got a boatload of money coming to us. We're going to have a boatload of projects, and we have to make sure that we go the design-build type of approach. Without adding staff, we won't be able to properly manage those things unless we do that. So I would like to go along in that direction in the near future. And then sooner or later, the economy is going to go down. So we just don't want to overstaff to supervise the expenditure of this $14 million and what goes with it. Knowing that when it's over, we don't want to disappoint people by having to let them go if the economy goes down. So I like this presentation as to the number of employees. We're going to be giving most likely halfway decent raises on top of these new positions. So we're just going to have to be very careful as it comes along. And as I've been reminded in past years, sooner or later, we're going to have to come around. And I certainly understand that.
Okay. Mr. Sachs, will just come down the line.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I noticed on the agenda tonight, we have an item for services for building inspectors. And I think we've done that before. I'm not the most comfortable with that. I would love to see our own building inspectors that work for the city. They're vested. They may care more. If I don't want to disparage any private companies that would work for us, but it would be good to have in-house building inspectors. So with that in mind, Khalid, I understand that it may cost us $160,000 for the contracted building inspectors. Do you know approximately how many people that they would provide versus how many we would have to hire in-house to make up that deficit?
Commissioner Sachs, I guess my first point is it's really difficult at this point to find qualified inspectors. So that's the first problem. The $160,000 that you see, that's we pay it by the hourly rate. So we might use all of it, we might use some of it, we might use even over the $160,000. So they provide the hours that we need to supplement the type of inspectors we have. Right now, we don't have a lot of inspectors that they have qualifications in all facets of the building inspections. So like, for example, in commercial, we only have the building official who's able to do some commercial and maybe one other inspector. So for example, Universal Engineering, they provide quite a bit of commercial inspections. As far as the numbers, I think if at this point, if you ask the building official how many inspectors, he probably will ask for 3 or 4. But the problem is finding them and having the qualified certificates in order to be an inspector. So that's why we go to the outside source. Otherwise, we will be behind in inspection. Right now, we're doing pretty good using the outside services.
Okay, I'm sort of comfortable with that. Thanks, Colin.
Okay.
Thank you. I apologize I wasn't able to make it earlier for your presentation. I've reviewed the material and I have no issues, no burning issues. With respect to the mayor's comments, I couldn't agree more with having to evaluate our pay structure. I think I've made it clear that I felt from the very top to the very bottom, we are underpaid here. So we've been doing a lot working towards the $15 increasing minimum wage employees. We're doing a lot with the unions, and I think that it is only natural to make sure that the executive or administrative part of the part of the structure is also looked at. So I'm all for that. I'm 100% for that, and I couldn't agree with the mayor more. And you lose good people if you're not going to be willing to pay them. And I think he hit it perfectly. You know, $5,000 or $10,000 you can say quality of life, great city to be in, whatnot. But we can't let that gap get too far, and it's getting too far. So I'm all for that. I'd like to go forward 100% and getting the information. I think, Mayor, you indicated that Heather will bring back to us some sort of structure.
I mean, that was what I was going to ask, if we have support of at least one more, I think, so far, to at least have Heather just bring us back that report.
I fully and wholly support bringing back information to us to give us an idea of where we're at, where we need to be on that. With adding new positions, I'm flexible with that. I don't want to get stuck where we're overstaffed. We're asking employees to do or provide us information, and then the one thing we need is money to actually do it. And then we've created a job description, and then this person can't see their job through. So I want to be, I'm open to the idea, but I want to be careful what we add to where it'll be tangible. We can actually accomplish what we're doing when this person provides us the information we want. We can actually do something with it. Thank you. That's it.
Okay.
So I kind of brought this up at the workshop. I talked about a bonus program for the 3 employees that we're in control of. And so I would support having a deeper dive or deeper look into those positions and actually where we are on a countywide level. But there's several ways to compensate employees, and salary is not always necessarily the best for some, and certainly for us. The bonus program would also be, to me, would be a favorable way to show that, and we could do that in such a way that whether it be mid-year or something like that, depending on how we see our finances progressing through the year. If we're up in sales tax collection, and things like that, then, that gives us some money. The extra position that you were talked about, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not so sure that this month would be the right timing for that. I think now that we're at the staffing level, we're still down the planning director, correct? Yeah. So I think that, maybe in 2 or 3 months, we can see where we are and how we're progressing and how the rest of the staff is working. And then, we can always bring that up at a later date, or even, plug it in at the actual end of the budget cycle. But to commit to that right now, I'm not so sure we're at that point where, we would see the best resolve from that, or the best results. So I'd rather kind of wait on that position. I'm not opposed to it, but, maybe at a later time. We still have the 3 contract negotiations that we're into, and we're not sure where that's going to end up. We already know that we're going to have a somewhat of a millage rate increase already. I don't want to be too high on that, so I think that it will all come to play, especially if we get a 3-year contract. We'll have a year 2 and year 3 of those contracts where we'll have a little bit more flexibility with spending. I think we also have one debt service that is going to be paid down during that period of time. So I think that gives us some options going forward for funding any extra positions in administratives.
Okay. So Heather, I think I heard at least three of us support at least bringing back that data to us at some future meeting. You can just email it maybe each to us individually, and then one of us will bring it up and figure out what we do with that information based on what it shows. Frankly, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what it will show, but that.
So, Mayor, I also brought up during the workshop the idea of a supermajority vote on a termination clause.
Yep.
So I don't know if you want to get a consensus on that now. I was going to bring it up at commission comments, but if you think now is the appropriate time to bring that up and have that open discussion,
we've got just a few more minutes here, so I'm happy to do it now.
Yeah, as I pointed out, I think that it also, you can pay somebody really well, but you can also give them some assurances on the other side, going, You know, I know that every 2 years when there's an election cycle, you know, may have that fear in the back of my mind or not. But still, I think that if we give them some assurance that certainly that they would, a supermajority vote to terminate without cause, or for something that's not obviously, what is the word that we can never explain what it really means?
Moral
Moral turpitude, yeah. So, but, you know, I think certainly if there's grounds for termination, then that's, no doubts there. I think we'd all would agree on that, but I think, you know, if it's just a termination clause, similar to what happened to the school board superintendent, I think that certainly, if we're looking at those items for the admin people, then that would also should be considered in any contract renegotiations, or if it's just an amendment to the existing contract. I would hope that there would be support among my peers for also to look into that and bring that also back to us at a future date.
Yeah, and I'll let everyone speak, but I would suggest, just from a timing standpoint and other reasons, let's keep those separate. Like,
Okay.
we can do what we want to do on the pay. We may or may not take action. We'll figure that out. I could see that being a bit protracted. To me, this is a pretty tight, buttoned-up issue. We either support it or don't. We move forward or not. And so if we do, we could probably push that one through fairly quickly and be done,
Right.
and not subject it to this whole protracted debate over pay versus bonus for, you know, all that other stuff. So that'd be my preference.
Right, I mean, they certainly could be two separate things, and it
Yeah.
could be a simple amendment to their existing contracts, which is fine with me. I wanted to make sure that we had a consensus to go forward with that,
Okay.
to give, you know, to try to resolve those issues before we
Yeah.
even break for this July meetings.
We'll just come back this way if you're okay with that, Vice Mayor.
Yes, I am.
Oh, I mean, are you okay with coming down back this way? You're okay with the
I thought you were
concept?
asking whether or not I'm okay with,
I got that now. All right, so you're okay with it? Commissioner Sacks?
Just for Commissioner Hartman, the question becomes, to terminate without cause, you would request a supermajority, but with cause, it would be a majority?
Yeah,
Right, okay.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah.
I have another question after we go around.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Commissioner Claude, anything to add?
No support.
Okay. All right. So I think I heard at least majority support on that. So I would think probably the way, do you have something? Oh, sorry. Can't tell what you're doing over there. You're just a floating head behind a sanitizer bottle often. I would say, Carrie, if you can draft a version of that addendum for each of the three contracts, just bring it back for at some future commission meeting under city attorney report. And I think we could vote on it at that time under that. If maybe circulate it ahead of time and, you know, get some feedback. And then if, you know, feel like we're close enough, just bring it back as an agenda item. If not, you can bring it back as for discussion type item. So however you feel like that, I don't know how complex or simple it'll be once you really, you know, dive into it.
Yeah, it would be a pretty simple amendment.
I would think it would. Okay. Anything else on that item?
I would like somewhere in this next budget cycle that we look at a proper desk for the city manager and assistant city manager.
So I'm actually glad you said it, and I haven't forgotten you. I'm going to come back. I would love to see them go ahead. Like, I love all the space we have, but I think I'd like to see them up here. Like, this was designed for them to be up here with us. It doesn't bother me at all to get a little cozier up here. So,
Celebration is on the 10th.
what's that?
I said, we'll celebrate on the 10th.
On the 10th? They'll be up here. Oh, they'll be up here on the 10th. All right. I like that. Thank you for mentioning that. You had something else you wanted to go over.
Yes, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to bring it up, perhaps during more budget talks, but I was looking for some feedback from my colleagues about the acceptance of the ARPA funds and the fact that we will probably have to raise the millage rate. How will that sit? How can we reconcile that with our constituents? Do you think there will be pushback? People saying,
Yeah.
well, you're raising our millage. Of
And
course,
you got all this money,
of
yeah.
course, yes. But how can we reconcile that?
I think-
Knowing that we're
Yeah.
receiving 14 million, but we still have to raise.
I think for
the
me, the
numbers.
explanation is very simple. The ARPA funds had a very distinct purpose, and that purpose was infrastructure, AKA one-time investments. That is one-time money that we get to spend one time, and we are spending it one time on infrastructure improvements. The millage rate increases are targeted at almost exclusively salary-related items. We can't take one-time funding and magically recreate it the next 50 years in the future. So we have to raise the millage because our police are struggling, we're struggling with staffing, all these other things we've been talking about for a while. We are addressing that with a millage increase, and we're using ARPA exactly for its intended consequence. And this commission made it very clear, I think almost unanimously last time, we wanted to stick with that as one-time funding. We got it once, we're going to spend it once and be done, and we're going to address ongoing issues via the changing of the millage rate. So yeah, I expect some underinformed critics to bring that point up. It's a rather shallow point that to me can be easily addressed.
Speaks to it well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else to add to that? All right, seeing none. Anything else for this budget meeting, Colin, gentlemen? All right. Meeting adjourned. We'll be back at 6:30 for the regular meeting.